Wow, that seat is hot. Let's sit into the sun.
Alright everyone, just doing a sound check before we head on out. Give me a wave if you can hear me back there. Awesome, hi guys. How's volume sounding? Too loud for one hand high up. Off from a chance to quiet hand up. I saw a lot of thumbs. Does that mean good volume? Awesome. Why don't we go ahead and get that safari started. Welcome aboard the Tram at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park. My name is Heather, and I am going to be your driver and guide here for the next 25 to 30 minutes. So before we get too distracted, while the really awesome stuff we're about to go see, let's get the safety talk out of the way first. And if you all could please gently jiggle your doors on either side of your row. Make sure they are fully closed. Also, keep in mind that they are not locked, so don't lean or sit on them. Additionally, you can toss them and pop open. Also, with that in mind, make sure you're just staying fully seated in that seat until we completely stop. If I make a full stop, you're okay to stand up if you like to get a better look. And once we start moving again, just take that seat for me. And then next tells me now, but should you experience a medical emergency today out on the road, look above you up on the ceiling. Got some yellow shift suppressed to get my attention up here. Behind me you don't have any, so just wave or give me a gentle tap on the window. Lastly, any items dropped off at the tram I cannot stop to pick up for you during the tour. Let me know back in the station where you lost it, and I can try to have someone go get it for you later. Hang on tight to all those things. With that being said, let's get started. Coming up on the left-hand side, we got the East Africa habitat. Bunch of giraffes. Also some southern white rhinos laying kind of amongst the drops there at the base of some of the palm trees. But don't worry, we'll be returning here at the end of the tour to get another good look at this a bit later as we head in. But as we do go throughout our tour here today on the trail, we're going to be checking out all the wildlife and their amazing adaptations. See how these adaptations only help them to better survive, to thrive in their environment. Things like coloration, markings, or sometimes even behaviors. And since we've got a good view of these rhinos right here, let's check them out for a second. Got one of them grazing on the grass on the hillside, which is what they are designed to do. They're like a lawnmower out in the savannas, being that grazer. And that's because that mouth shape is best adapted to that flat grassland environment. If you were to look at the bottom of their mouth, it kind of almost looks like a little lawnmower. It's flat and wide to lay flat against that ground so they can graze. And sometimes you'll have things like coloration rather than just a physical characteristic on them, like the coloration of the greater flamingo coming up on our right-hand side. You may notice they're a bit more of a white color than they are that typical pink. The one flapping the wings in the middle, you can see that kind of brighter pink color. That comes from the food that they eat, the carotenoids in them. But they're a bit lighter because they're coming from the salt marshes of East Africa, so very, very hot, sunny. Water can even get up to be boiling, which they are able to drink that boiling water. But this white color is going to help them better survive in that environment, acting as some camouflage to help blend them in, as well as reflecting sunlight heat away and off their bodies as a way to stay cool in the warm sun. Just like if you were to wear a light colored t-shirt on a hot day, it keeps it cool as well. But by joining us here today at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park, you have it now all entered through one of the two front doors of the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance. Other front doors, of course, going to be that San Diego Zoo, which is downtown in Balboa Park. And here at the Safari Park, we opened our doors in 1972 to the public and originally started as a breeding facility for the San Diego Zoo. Situated on an expanse of 1,800 acres in the San Pasqual Valley here in San Diego County. Roughly half of the acres is what you see in park around you right now, and the other half is going to be just outside of the park surrounding us, which is dedicated to protecting the native habitats of the coastal sage scrub. Still glancing off to the right-hand side, doing a good job at beating the heat. Got some more southern white rhinos laying in the shade of the hut in the center. I guess we got one of them in the very far back having a drink of water, but still staying cool. The Nikita Khan Rhino Rescue Center that we see here was dedicated back in 2015 when 6 southern white rhino females came over from a reserve actually in South Africa to be here at the Safari Park in Escondido, California, as part of this project where they study their reproductive sciences as well as assisted reproductive techniques. Things like in vitro fertilization, so IVF, and artificial insemination, AI. which is of course going to help out them and benefit them as a species, but also their very close cousin, the northern white rhino. And that is because only 2 northern white rhinos remain in the entire world. And yes, you heard that correctly, literally only 2. They're a mother and daughter pair. They live on a protected reserve in Kenya, also too old to reproduce. So what it does mean for their species of the northern white rhino is that they have become what's called functionally extinct, meaning they can no longer contribute to their kind. But don't worry, there is still hope for northern white rhinos. They are working to create embryos of them one day from DNA that's been stored in our frozen zoo. We have DNA from 12 different northern white rhinos, even things like skin cells. They can turn into embryos, which I know, it does sound a little bit crazy and kind of like Jurassic Park, which it totally does. But with the ultimate goal being one day using IVF, that embryo transplant process, into these southern white rhinos here at the Nikita Khan Rhino Rescue Center to hopefully one day be surrogate mothers for those northern white rhinos to bring them back as a species entirely. So some really amazing work going on here with the rhinos, and I could talk about them all day, and they are my favorite. We do, however, only have about 30 minutes together today, and much more to see. Like the beautiful savannas up ahead here as we head on in towards the South Africa habitat. Savannas here are one of the 8 conservation hubs that the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance focuses efforts in on around the world, across 6 different continents. And actually 2 of these 8 hubs we will journey through today on our tour. This one below us, the savanna, and the one that is currently up above us on a hillside that surrounds us here at the Safari Park with the coastal sage scrub. We call that the Southwest Hub. Talk a bit more about the Southwest Hub in just a bit. Conservation stories from it a little later. So for now, why don't we head on into the savannas up ahead and check them out. On to a few more 4-legged friends, simply the feathered friends of flamingos we started with back again on the right hand side. Tan and white, these guys are the Salmarines gazelle, which comes from the deserts of East Africa. And typically deserts are going to have a few less resources to go around. Things like food and water are a bit harder to find, and when you do find those things, you might have to compete a bit more. So both males and females are going to have horns because horns help with competition, like getting resources, or all the ladies, for example. The males always have horns to compete for all the girls. Sometimes the females won't have horns. It means the opposite for resources, got more of them, and therefore that's competing. And while some either have those horns because they need to compete for resources or not, there are some out on the savannas that don't have to compete too much at all. Well, at least in the height category, that is. No one can really even come close to a giraffe when they stand 16 to 18 feet tall when fully grown. And more specifically, these are the Maasai giraffe here in this habitat. Compared to the ones at the beginning, they're a bit darker in coloration. Spots are also a bit more jagged and irregular in appearance than other giraffe species. And we like to say for about every foot of height that the giraffe has is that they have about 1 inch of tongue, meaning their tongues are 16 to 18 inches long. That's about the length if you were to look at your arm, your elbows, and the tip of your middle finger or so. And it's a really dark color, that tongue, dark